Alright, welcome back to Best Intentions, everybody. Thank you for staying tuned. It's still me over here, one of your hosts, Roy, with
Jeremy Career.
Absolutely, as always, it's going to be a good time. This time around, guys, we're going to have an interview with our very special guest, Ryan, over here.
What's going on, everyone?
Thank you for saying hi to the viewers, Ryan. We're going to talk a little bit about Ryan's experience with college and his journey to Radford and what he has to offer us. Ryan, how are we doing today?
Doing pretty good. Glad it's Friday.
Oh, I've heard that, man. Even though we do have some pretty rainy weather coming up, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, definitely.
Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to the university where you go to now.
Well, originally from here, moved around a little bit, came back in 7th grade, but after I graduated high school, I was originally trying to go to VCU, but I actually got in there, but I got into Radford, ODU, and Longwood.
Nice.
But a bunch of my friends got into Radford, so, and I had a brother at the time who was a senior, so just kind of made sense to, go with my friends, and, had an older brother there, so.
So I guess you made the choice to go with familiar territory and follow everybody else?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I definitely don't regret it, but I always kind of wonder, what if, gone down a different way. But I've enjoyed my time since I've been there, so.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have enjoyed it, Ryan. You've obviously made the choice to go down to Radford. Is there any particular area of education that you wanted to study?
Well, originally I was going to I kind of flopped around a little bit. I was originally going to do history, like in my orientation, that's what I was originally under. And then once I actually started, I was a psychology major. And then about halfway through my sophomore year, I kind of realized that you really just had to get a PhD to do anything in psychology, really.
That is very true.
I kind of realized that wasn't really maybe the right path, so I saw that there was a production technology, which is like communications, basically, so yeah, I saw it was like pretty much like audio production and video, stuff like that, so decided I'd check it out.
Well, that's really cool, Ryan. We're glad to have you on board here as part of that because I know we need it.
No problem.
Well, did you start it out right after high school? You just dove into college right away?
Yeah, I was I graduated in 2010, so yeah, fall 2010 was my first semester.
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool. Were there any rough spots as far as your transition from high school went? As far as difference in classes go?
I mean, it was definitely kind of odd at first, going to big lectures,
I know it's a big culture shock for everybody.
It's like, you go from being in a class with 20 to 30 people to 100, so it's definitely weird at first because it's not as personal, but I mean, some I've had some college classes that are a little smaller, it's a little more personal feel, but yeah, the big lecture ones, it was definitely kind of, I liked it at first because you could just
you could just hang out, nobody really notices you.
Right. But yeah, that was pretty much the only big thing, really.
Well, that's good to hear, Ryan. What are the biggest noticeable differences between high school classes and college classes that you saw?
Definitely, I guess the teachers aren't really on your back, or not on your back, but constantly reminding you. I mean, they'll send out emails every once in a while or tell you in class, But yeah, it really is just kind of up to you to manage your time and your workload. You can pretty much do whatever after class. It's not like you go home and be with your parents and stuff like that.
Right.
Did you do your homework or whatever? It's kind of like, that independence. You kind of have the freedom to choose how you want to spend your time, I guess.
You're absolutely right, Ryan. Jeremy, did you have a similar experience? Because I know that's one of the biggest things, the biggest differences between college and high school, I'd say, is that nobody's making you do anything. How did you go about that transition?
Well, the transition was a little bit uncomfortable at first. I mean, the high school I went to was trying to prepare you for college in a way. So it was pretty similar. When I got over, I wasn't completely set out to see it with myself.
Right.
But I did start to get into it a little bit, started to understand. The first thing I was super excited about was getting to pick my own schedule. The whole 12th grade experience, you don't get to pick your own schedule. You're just
really
forced to wake up.
Grade school, you just follow what everybody else tells you to do.
Right.
Exactly. Wake up at the crack of dawn, go home in the middle of the afternoon. I don't know, there's a lot of day there, and this worked a lot better for me because now I get to pick the frames that work best. I don't know about you guys, but I like to go early in the morning and be out by noon. I like to have my full day. I know a lot of people like to learn in the morning, but I much prefer to have my nights and afternoons open.
Well, I definitely agree with you, Jeremy. I mean, just my entire life has been based around that. You've got to do stuff in the morning, and then you're over in the afternoon, and then you got the rest of the day to either work or do stuff that you want. And frankly, I just like that schedule. So I'm like you. I try to get all my classes done by mid-afternoon, start out early in the morning, do whatever I have to do that. Because I've taken a couple well, not night classes, but evening classes, late afternoon classes, and trying to stay focused through those, I found is the most absolute worst thing in the entire world. What do you think, Ryan?
Yes, I had a couple of early morning classes, but luckily I've hopefully got those 8 a.m.s out of the way and never have to take another 8 a.m. But I mean, I guess it's nice, getting the most out of your day, but just waking up, especially in the wintertime because it's like really dark and really cold.
And it's so comfortable in your bed.
Yeah, it's just like I don't really want to walk in the freezing cold to class. I could just, stay in my warm bed. But I mean, I guess it's not too bad. I mean, if you have to take the class and that's the only time they offer it, then, just got to do it, tough it out.
That's true. Man up, generation, it's coming to you.
Have either of you actually experienced the process of web classes?
Ooh,
Like taking classes online?
I'm glad you said that because actually I took an online critical thinking / philosophy class last summer, away from home obviously because I wasn't in Harrisonburg, but I think that was an interesting class to take because I'm so used to the whole teacher classroom situation whereas college is pretty much on your own and nobody's making you do anything anyway. When you're separated by pretty much only the internet and your computer, I think it's really hard for me to focus and actually get work done. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I took a couple online classes. Well, I've only taken one online class while I've actually been at up at school. But last summer I took 2 online classes, and I mean it's cool because you're 5 hours away, but you're still doing your schoolwork. Yeah. But it's also kind of hard just because it's even more up to you to do it. Because it's like here's your work, you have till this date to get everything done, and you really gotta take time out of each day to make sure you do the assignments and stuff. So it's definitely I mean it's really convenient if you can't make it to the campus, but you just really gotta be on top of your work.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with you. That is kind of amplified by the fact that you don't even talk to any of your classmates or teacher practically.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually surprising. I had a class that was kind of like an intramural, kind of a little bit of both. My sociology teacher taught in-class sessions, but he also taught a web class,
really?
Of the same subject. So a lot of the in-class work was actually civic stuff to do online. You had modules and videos you watch, and then instead certain days of the week you wouldn't have to come. Monday would be a regular class, and Wednesday would be an online class.
Interesting.
So it kind of segued me into that concept where it's kind of teaching myself, but also having that classroom experience. And I've never taken a full web class, but I think having that experience has kind of trained me for that a little bit.
That is pretty cool because, I mean, that seems like it's kind of a merging of the best of both worlds. It'd be the perfect class in ideal sense, but is that better than a regular in-class, full-time classroom class?
Maybe. What do you think about the concept of iTeachers? Kind of like teachers who teach via Skype or some form of webcam, they record all their sessions and have it for you to just play back over and over and kind of answer specific questions. How do you feel about that concept?
I've heard about classes like that. I've never actually been in one. I know there was even a high school class that was taught via Skype webcam nonsense, and I've had a bunch of friends who've taken similar classes in actual college, but I'm not entirely sure of what I think because on one hand it seems like it's totally impersonal and almost like an online class, and I'm not really sure how you do that without actual interaction with your teacher, but I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess, whatever you're really used to, it's definitely handy being able to, actually go and see your professor if you have an issue or just to just to get help with anything. But I mean, I guess if you're not really I don't know, if you just prefer just, emailing or whatever, or just I guess you're used to that technology,
Right.
It's really up to whatever your preferences are. But I mean, personally, I prefer to be able to go to your professor if you have a problem or whatever. But I guess that makes it pretty handy if you're long distance, just pull up FaceTime or Skype and just be like, hey, I got this problem. So
I like the concept of being able to say it's on a video loop or some form.
Right.
Or you could actually just record your whole section on your computer and then play it back if there's something you didn't understand or needed more information on.
Kind of like your online class with the whole...
the whole module system and file sharing and that kind of sort. It was very interesting. I like the take on that.
That's an interesting thing to study about, I think. Now, we were recently talking about classes and how that transition between high school and college goes and all the little fine nuances that go with that. Ryan, if there is one piece of advice that you could give to incoming college students about how to handle that transition between high school and college classes, what would it be?
Oh boy. I guess just it probably sounds cliche, but just like I guess just get your work done.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, it's definitely you want to have fun and stuff,
Yeah.
but don't like kind of take it for granted. Like just like getting like a routine, I guess. Like when you do your work and like definitely don't skip class if you really don't need to. Those attendance policies sometimes can make or break. Definitely, yeah. I would just don't be lazy, I guess, which I can't really kind of hypocritical because I've been lazy. I think everyone gets a little lazy at some point,
sure.
but yeah, if I could, looking back in hindsight, I'd definitely I'd definitely take it a little bit more seriously. But
Well, I'm glad you said that, Ryan, because I think that's a valuable piece of advice that we all can take, and I think that applies to everybody because, like we said, college is completely different in the fact that nobody is making you do anything. So to really get yourself out there and get going, I think that's the main obstacle that you have to overcome for college. What about you, Jeremy? One piece of advice.
One piece of advice as far as college goes, I don't know, I'm also trying to stay clear of cliches, but I think it's always kind of have a general plan, like kind of make one goal for the day and shoot for it. I know one kind of sounds like a low number,
Oh yeah,
but it's just anything,
some sort of structure.
anything worth doing is worth kind of striving for. So when you wake up in the morning, just be like, okay, I have a quiz today, I gotta pass this quiz. Whatever I gotta do, I gotta pass it. Something like that, like little just keys to keep yourself motivated and keep going. Because when you do something every day, it does start to get monotonous, and you don't want college to be one of those things because it's going to benefit you so much, but it's just hard to keep that whole mindset. So I think the actual I don't know, kind of holding some form of structure.
Well, that's really cool that you said that too, Jeremy. I think striving towards something, obviously, the routine can get monotonous sometimes. Not to put off your advice because that is definitely what you need in college, but having a discernible goal, I think, will certainly help people get along in college.
definitely.
Well, as we know, in most colleges, some people will choose to live on campus at their actual college, or they live off campus, but most of the time the situation, because like we discussed in our financing video, the biggest situation with money is that we don't need to spend as much. Now, we need roommates to make that happen. Roommates are obviously a very vital part of college. Ryan, what has been your experience with living with different people in college?
Well, my freshman year, me and my friend shared a dorm, but we got paired with a third roommate for like the first 2 weeks. So I mean, it was cool at first. He was like from this area, so like we had that in common. But definitely like it was 3 people in a room was kind of in like a dorm room. I mean it wasn't like a really tiny dorm room, but it was like
It's not like
Not big enough for 3 people.
yeah. It was basically just like a bunk bed and then a single bed. But we had our own bathroom, which was nice. But eventually, it just kind of got really cluttered, and I don't know. And he liked to sing karaoke and stuff, so he'd come back to class and he'd just be singing his heart out.
Was he good at karaoke?
I don't know. I'm
The
not
fact
really
that you
much.
paused makes me think,
Maybe he
I
thought
mean,
he was good.
he's
at
better
karaoke.
than I am.
At
I
least
can't
he
really
had
say
heart.
I can't knock it at all. So,
Well, that's true.
but he was a nice guy. I still see him around. So.
That's cool. I know a lot of colleges are moving towards 3-person dorm rooms, which my experience with dorm rooms is they're about like twice as big as this table, and that's not a whole lot of room. But I don't know. That's really cool that you had a good experience with a third roommate. Was there any problems that you encountered with your initial roommates, and how you fixed them, or something like that?
Not really. Our sophomore year though, like you interviewed Ken yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Ken moved in with our 2 other friends in an apartment that sophomore year, so it was 4 of us.
Mm-hmm.
That was really fun, but it was definitely, sometimes you just want like your own kind of time, but it's like, you're living with 3 other people, so there's a lot going on. Sometimes you just want to, chill out, but I mean, nothing really serious though, just kind of like just that, I guess, that private time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just
A little bit of time to yourself is very important.
exactly.
When you're sharing a space with a whole bunch of people.
yeah.
Because before you actually like go out on your own and then have to find roommates and stuff like that, you kind of get a lot of time to yourself. You kind of take that for granted once you move out and have to deal with somebody else's, I I don't know, just general like traits and habits, like your roommate horror story with the karaoke. That's something that you couldn't really prepare yourself for beforehand. It's just something like once you're in the mix, you're just kind of like, is this something I can deal with? Is this something that's going to keep happening, or how are we going to deal with this?
You know, that's very cool, Jeremy, and you're absolutely right. As a freshman in college, you're obviously moving in with new people. Did you say you knew your roommates before you moved in with them in your freshman year, or you did not?
Well, I knew, like, me and my friend initially had, like, we wanted to room together. We put in, like, our, form, like, we wanted to room together, but we got tripled with a random person, but he just happened to be from the area, so.
Do you have any experience with a random roommate, just completely drawn one out of the mix?
Basically, I mean, that's just that one guy, our third roommate.
Maybe you got added on, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, like you were saying yesterday, like, sometimes, and I hear it a lot, don't live with, your good friends.
Right, yeah.
But honestly, we never really had, like, any, problems at all. We just all pretty much got along pretty well,
Yeah, well, that's really cool.
It worked out for the best.
Speaking of random roommates, actually, I have a friend I used to visit at Old Dominion University, who originally the first year of Old Dominion, if it's like your freshman year, they usually give you the dorm option. So of course he went with that. He had a really cool roommate, lived around the area, was a musician of some sort, and just had a lot of similarities in common. Yeah, he used to hang out with him all the time. Eventually ended up getting moved to a different quad for whatever reason. I don't remember the exact specifics of that. So yeah, he got a new random roommate. And that was kind of a deal, because I used to visit a lot to see what was going on.
Right.
It was just two completely different pages. Like, it was definitely a dorm room horror story. One was like a surfer, and one was like a straight just army fanatic.
Ooh,
yeah.
Those two lifestyles strike me as very.
It looked like a Fox TV show, essentially. One of those, I don't know, two people opposites in one room kind of deal. But they seemed to work it out after some time. That's just at the start. It was a difficult thing to get used to.
As far as my experience with college went, my freshman year, I moved in with a guy that went to a school across town that I kind of knew. I mean, we were on good terms, but we didn't really know each other entirely, and we moved in together. And I think we had a really good experience together, because not being best friends, we didn't feel like we had to spend a lot of time with each other, or feel like we really need to develop each other's relationship or anything like that. But it was really cool moving in with somebody you know and that respects you and that you respect them. And I think that was a very harmonious, I want to say relationship, but that's not what I'm going for. But just really harmonious living situation that we went for. But my sophomore year of college, I moved across campus. My other roommate didn't want to move across campus because both of our schools were on opposite ends of 1.5 mile long campuses. So anyway, I chose a random roommate option because I've heard outgoing people that like to meet new people and hang out with new things and do all that lovely non-introverted crap. They say having a random roommate is really cool, and that's what I did. I got a really, really, really cool frat boy to move in with it, and that's not really the kind of lifestyle that I led, but I kind of had the whole traveling musician lifestyle, which he couldn't really relate to a lot, but we actually got along really well because, I mean, like I said, respect goes a long way in the whole roommate situation world, living nonsense thing, whatever have you. But anyway, that's just my story. Thoughts, comments, concerns?
That's actually crazy. I never knew before that you had the random roommate option. That's kind of a weird deal. Were you like uncomfortable at all when he told you like you're going to meet this guy and he's going to start moving in this day?
I'm not going to lie. When we first moved in together, we moved in with like an hour and a half of each other, so it was really awkward that first like 10 minutes of like sup. We're basically going to be sleeping next to each other for the next year. But overall, I think it was not that bad of an experience. I mean, we got to know each other. We were cool. I've definitely heard horror stories like people who sing in a room constantly. But anyway, we'll move on from that.
What helped you work out that whole scenario with having to live with a random? How do you think you both got along so well?
I think, really, it was just the fact that we weren't mean to each other. I mean, we both knew we were in the whole random roommate situation, and it would kind of suck if the other person was weird to the other person, so I think just being cool with each other, respecting each other's opinions, just not bothering anybody, I think that was really cool. But anyway, because we're all that advice here on this segment of the show, Ryan, if you could give one piece of advice to somebody who's experiencing the whole roommate situation for the first time, what would it be?
Well, I'm sure if you're already in the dorm, living, or you're about to, you'll probably find out. They'll give you the whole spiel. They'll say go tell your RA or whatever. But I would just one-on-one probably just just be upfront and honest, you know, with
Yeah.
you know your roommate, you know, not in like a threatening way, but just like you know, hey, like, do you mind not doing this or whatever? Just probably like just being clear and you know, honest, not you know, because if you let that stuff like I guess build up, it'll
Oh yeah.
end up being a lot worse.
Straight up Sex in the City on it, and that's not good.
But yeah, I mean, or if you really don't want to do that route, you know, you can just talk to your RA or whatever, and they'll give you some advice or you know, switch you out. But that's what I've heard, pretty much.
That's really cool. Thank you for that wonderful advice. And you, Jeremy?
Well, with working out the whole scenario, I mean, I don't want to like preach. It's already been said like 3 or 4 times, but essentially just kind of being open-minded, I guess, really helps out a lot. Like maybe, let's say I have a roommate who likes karaoke. Maybe I try karaoke. Maybe we can find some mutual ground.
We all have to find ourselves
Still
somehow.
make steps, yeah. Just try and keep an open mind and try and understand where the other person's coming from. And from there, as long as you have a positive attitude and you're cool about it, not too much wrong can happen.
Well, that's both really good advice, guys. Thank you for saying that. We're going to take a real quick break, but make sure to stay tuned, and we're going to close out Best Intentions for you guys. Welcome back to Best Intentions, you guys. Thanks for staying tuned. As always, it's your host, Roy, and
Jeremy's still right here with you.
thank you. And as always, our special guest, Ryan, here from Radford University. We're going to wrap it up real quick, but Ryan, you chose Radford University to attend school. What is the one cult thing that all the students have to do before they graduate?
Well, I think one of like the pastimes I've heard is like my brother went there and he said that everyone when he was younger like did this like when he first got there, all the older people.
Sure, you do have a long lineage to follow. You gotta have something good.
Right, yeah, but a lot of people like during the summer, like even in the spring when it gets a little warmer, there's the New River, which it's actually a fun fact about the New River. It flows like in a different, it flows upstream or something like that.
Really?
That's why it's called the New River. It's something like you know unique about it, but yeah, there's a river like right you know a minute away from campus, so a lot of people like to go in there and get like inner tubes and just kind of float down like a you know like a lazy river basically.
Yeah. Just have one big old party.
Yeah, but I mean they definitely some people definitely you know like to party out there, but sometimes there's cops out there, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest doing that unless you're you know brave, but.
Make good choices, kids.
Yeah,
Stay in school.
but definitely,
Responsibility.
get a nice big old inner tube and just, you know, on a nice hot day, and you know the river feels good, so definitely do that.
On that subject, I'm really curious, and I don't know why this struck me. Has anybody ever used like a giant tire as a replacement as an inner tube? Does that actually work?
I haven't seen that, but you know, I've seen people with like you know big inflatable rafts, or just like your
Right, yeah,
basic,
smart.
or just like your basic, you know,
Like a
inner tube.
poor man's party bar?
Yeah, basically. You know, I mean, whatever floats really.
Whatever floats your
Whatever
boat.
floats your boat.
Best intentions, you guys. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Ryan. I've especially enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you and your experience at Radford. I'm sure my host Jeremy as well.
Oh, definitely. I had a pleasure. Definitely come back on sometime.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you've been watching Best Intentions. We're bringing you all the latest stuff about what you need to know in Hampton Roads. Thank you for watching us, and stay tuned for our show next week.